This chapter includes nudity and themes of orcs being raised and manipulated from birth to be cruel and violent. This chapter is not suitable for children, and some adults will find it disturbing.
The city of Ogstad, the kingdom of Hesse. At the center of the Hessen capital stood International Fair, the town square. Most days, like today, it buzzed with kinetic activity, a multicultural hub of worldwide commerce, exhibitions, and festivals, a smorgasbord of dialects, races, and cultures. Dominating center court, the Hoot Weret of Set, the largest temple of its kind in all of Niesse, where folks gathered to chew the fat and receive the news of the day. Today's news:
the König is dead!
The suddenness of König Rüsdorf's death shook onlookers to their very marrow. A stranger, whose woodland appearance clashed with the secular Hessen civilians, listened, absorbing the momentous news and its dire effects on the populace, before turning her attention elsewhere. Later that day, the woodland outsider proceeded casually past Enchantment's guard, her thoughts on the day's events. She barely took notice of the soldiers of the 10th Legion as they went about their daily regimented training. Sadly, regicide had become all too common of late. First the Emperor, now König Rüsdorf. The death of the Hessen royal family, while sad and tragic, was just another violent event in the world of mortals. With the Emperor no longer able to maintain the peace, other calamities and tribulations would quickly follow. Politics was an international game of mystery and subterfuge, as ruthless and bloody as any battlefield skirmish. War was coming, faster than anyone realized. 40 years of peace under Cordava's rule had given rise to a Potemkin village of sorts. That violence, war, the dark times were forever a hallmark of the past. Were these dedicated legionnaires who trained non-stop truly prepared for whatever foe raised a sword against the Empire? Hessen Fräulein gathered strategically along the Garnon River, more interested in the handsome soldiers swimming than doing laundry, garments that would soon be soiled with blood and tears. The woodland stranger entered the Garnon, searching. Finally, she climbed to the highest branches of the tallest oak, her eyes and intention on something else entirely. Enchantment's guard. She applied tension to her bowstring, deliberate in her resolve. Who or what was her target? The bow sprang. The arrow, silent, propelled by sorcery. Its trajectory took a curved path around Enchantment's guard, transporting the woman silently in its wake. Simultaneously, far below, inside the castrum's arena, raw recruits trained under the critical gaze of two veteran centurions.
F***ing hell.
Halt! Shield malfunction?
I did not just f***ing see that.
What is your name, Legionnaire?
Menzel, Dominus.
Dominus? Do I look like a Legatus war Manzel?
No, sir.
This is the 10th Legion, the Warhawks. Mean anything to you?
Well,
That's it.
Centurion, I'll say it's about time for a lecture, wouldn't you?
Hot damn. I love me a good lecture.
Today's lecture proudly provided by Centurions Bongoni and Gromov.
We are the Warhawks, not some God's damned fifth f***ing rate God's damned auxiliary in the middle of God's damned f***ing finger in the f***ing Teutonic. Warhawks!
Vivid. But on point, Centurion. See these shields, War Manzel. Each shield represents a battle. Glory. Lives saved.
Battle of Secundi.
Legionnaire Thomas carried this shield in the Battle of Secundi. 36 arrows protruded.
Battle of Utenholm.
Centurion Youngtown carried this shield in the Battle of Jotunheim. On the edge of the Cloud Forger, stood against the beast of Tavjan.
And the goddamn son bitch survived.
The 10th Legion helped tame Chaldea, forging Cordava's mighty empire.
Battle of Arcadia.
Legionnaire Helvig von Gustavus carried this shield in the Battle of Arcadia.
Legionnaire Gustavus.
That's God's damned right! Saved the entire Legion, you stupid God's damned f***ing, ungrateful maggot-sucking, half-witted f***ing shit weevil!
When you drop your shield, it's like shitting in the eyeball of every soldier who ever carried a shield, spear, or a longbow in the Warhawks. Not good. Are you shitting in my eyeball, Legionnaire?
No, Centurion.
As a tribute, War Manzel will memorize the history of each and every one of these hollowed shells, the battle it was carried in, and the legionnaire who carried it.
Yeah, date and time of use down to the f***ing second. Where the wind was blowing, what God's damned Anumians were in the sky. F***ing brilliant idea. You think that's funny, nuts? Okay. Whoever goes for this pathetic sack of discharge goes for every one of you f***faced f***wad heads. Now you get me? That's it! 10 laps around the campus. All of yous, now! Go!
Yes, Centurion!
Bongoni grinned, amused as he watched Gromov's colorful prose inspire the recruits more effectively than any barbed whip. The Roosh Centurion would have the soldiers running scared for the next few hours. Bongoni loved the 10th Legion and its mishmash of diverse and unique personalities. Where else could he work alongside a giant who rode a triceratops? An unlikely pair rode close. The Warhawks were known to employ some rather unconventional talents and weapons, to say the least. Tribunus Rockatansky and Woodmaul were just such a team.
Rock, I thought you were...
Just returned this moment.
While the legions were strictly composed of human men, staffing of auxilia units was a little more creative and open to interpretation. Rockatansky's partner and lifelong friend was a Rinthasar half-giant. His special and rather obvious talents came in handy when finesse was no longer an option.
News of the beast?
Oh yeah, plenty of news.
We tracked him all the way through the garden. Picked up his bloody trail along the coastal highway. That's where he hooked up with 3 more of his brothers, on the border of Latium.
3 of them?
Killing every damn thing in their path.
After the Drazeldar so loudly and publicly abandoned its post, Rockatansky was ordered to shadow the swamp demon on a fact-finding mission.
Any indication where they are headed?
Yeah, I think so. Outside of Manticore, we ran into a group of gravers, tracking 2 more of them. They indicated the 2 abandoned their posts at Tartu and Gnashmag Gulag.
Gods be damned.
Oh, yeah. Oh, but wait. This tale gets much better. Yeah, on the return trip, we stopped in Andalus to speak with Legatus Trenton. Rumors sweeping the Empire. They say the Drazeldar are abandoning their posts in droves.
Meanwhile, on the other side of the castrum, inquisitive Akkadians explored the grounds. Sava, Rubati, and Balatu casually strolled the track that circumnavigated the campus. Their attention split among the many cohorts who were busy going about the training required to keep an Imperial Legion ready for war. Since the Emperor's death, Sava no longer feared repatriation into Arcadia. A huge weight lifted.
Not a among you deserves a shield. Hear me? Hear me?
Yes, Centurion.
But if one of you should be so fortunate to earn the right, I'll make you howl. When the Empire calls, by gods, you will be ready.
An impressive display, albeit loud.
Would you prefer to serve in the Legion, Nubanda?
My place is by your side, Papa, as always.
I, for one, would relish a shot at these legionnaires.
Are we still talking about the sword?
Bed, field, both. I would dominate their asses while proudly achieving and sustaining simultaneous multiple
Very ambitious and aspirational, Rubati. Are you speaking from experience?
Papa Sarva, not in front of the males. A girl can dream, can't she?
Yes, she can dream. Some more so than others, apparently.
Sava and Rubati's playful banter mixed with the cacophony of the 10th Legion training grounds. Slowly, the discordant mix carried skyward to inquisitive ears atop Enchantment's guard. The infiltrator slung her hood over her head and settled back for a long wait. Her attention was soon drawn to a window and an individual within. On the other side of that very same window is the governor's office. Helvig brooded over his command. The uneasy tangle of knots in his abdomen were manifestations of a dreaded fear that the Emperor's and the Konig's deaths were somehow linked. And then there's the Drazeldar that mysteriously abandoned its post, disappearing into the Garnon forest to who knows where. All of this. Mere coincidence?
The entire family is dead. Koenig, Konigan, Kurfürst Arwolf, all of them. Even the little ones.
Any news on the perpetrator?
Those who survived didn't witness anything.
Yeah, Lotari. He's the one. I want bounties on him and all the members of the Black Daggers. Brought in alive, dead. It makes no difference.
Yes, Dominus.
Start with his estate in Hochstadt. If not, they'll proceed to Brunswick Schloss.
Braunschweig? Never heard of it.
Few have. Over the centuries, his family has gone to great lengths to maintain its secrecy. I'll provide a map, along with orders to arrest the Volksgraf on charges of treason. Well, off with you.
Yes, Dominus.
Word spread like wildfire. The second cohort would march into Tavjan beneath the shadow of the Cloudforger Mountains in search of Pfalzgraf Lothar von Kronenberg and his Black Dagger accomplices. Soon, 500 legionnaires were assembled, rank and file with accompanying auxilia and support personnel. It didn't take much arm-twisting to energize a legion. Tribunus Tepek Hasdoni was as eager as his staff officers to seek action in the field, even if that action were against a minor guild of assassins. The Tribunus quickly mounted his steed. He cared little for flowery speeches and even less for pomp and circumstance. He led the second cohort to the exits. The Pfalzgraf in question was hiding somewhere. If he were at Braunschweig Schloss, they would find him and bring him to justice. As dead meat or otherwise. Argos Wildlands, Kingdom of Mycenae, some 300 leagues east of Ogstad. A minor skirmish between Mycenaean hoplites and an expeditionary force of mutant orcs fresh out of the Greymory wastes echoed up the rocky canyon walls. Heavy horse and spear leveled the mutants. Your typical orc feared sunlight and professional soldiers. But these mutants feared nothing. The skirmish was swift. Brutal. Bloody. Horrific deaths on both sides. But the result was never in question. The hoplites proved too much for even the Greymory-enhanced mutants.
Sorinel moves quicker than I would have imagined.
I think he'd prefer the new Königin of Hesse not reach her palace.
I am not the Königin. Not yet.
Early one evening, a few days later, officers of the 10th Legion gathered for a war council. War was no longer hypothetical or hearsay whispers. News and briefings turned into operational planning. Cooped up for days in the war room, Reiswitz laid the groundwork and moved figurines in strategic preparation. It was time for those plans to be revealed.
It's a numbers game if there ever was one. 10,000 men versus 200,000 orcs. We've run scenarios using all possible strategies. Conclusion? Stolhofen provides the best defensive position for opposing Cyrano. The Divinity Mountains will provide an easily fortifiable line. And should Stolhofen fall, we can fall back to the Moldau River. If the orcs cross the Moldau, then we can fall back to Ogstad.
There will be no falling back. We must stop them at Stolhofen.
The unconventional nature of the orc army is another challenge. We can't attack the supply lines because they are non-existent. They loot and pillage as they go.
How many troops are we sending to Tettonique?
None. If we are going to hold the orcs at Storhofen, we can't risk sending anyone to Tetanik.
If I may.
In the weeks following the Drazeldar rampage, Papa Sava had been seen regularly coming and going from the war room, never far from the Legatus' side. These officers, most of whom received formal military training at the Contubernium War College, were a bit skeptical, to say the least, of the Akkadian Papa and her ideas. Despite the men's reservations, Reiswitz and the governor were interested in her opinion, so they listened.
We all know orcs prefer to fight at night rather than the day, so let us exploit this weakness.
Go on.
With a small coordinated deployment, we can execute precise hit-and-run day strikes in Tetanik, draw them out, and pick them off.
Even with the sun as an ally, this guerrilla tactic won't stop the orcs. Just annoy them.
Annoy? Yes. Stop? No. Distract and delay the vile fiends for weeks? Yes and yes.
Aha.
Tetanik is not about a full-on fight. It is about buying us time.
A fine theory for the gaming table. But the reality is, these towns, Carlisle, Vark, Montfort, are commanded by knight orders, trained in head-to-head combat, not stealth strikes.
Send me. Give me command of Tetanik.
Sava providing opinions and theories was one thing, but taking command in the field, that was something else quite entirely.
Akkadians are masters in guerrilla warfare, unlike the men in this room.
I can't give you command of Tetanik. The knights will never accept you as the commander.
I still have several Qurbuti guards under my command.
If she arrives with her own men already in tow.
But you'd still have to earn the respect of the knights. No small feat.
All the more reason for me to start immediately.
A daring proposal. Would they go for it?
Waiting for someone to paint your portraits? Go!
Sava's supreme confidence deeply impressed Helvig, like father, like son. But Sava's mission to Tetanik would require much more than bravado and determination. Divinity Mountains, Kingdom of Niesse. Unnatural tonal bursts that could only come from a hellish horn, not of Chaldea, reverberated across the Divinity Mountains' rugged snow-capped peaks, hinting at indescribable horrors hidden inside. Gorgbast, one of the 5 great citadels of Niesse. The hellish horn continued its demented calling. Calling who? Or what? Beneath Gorgbast and all the orc citadels that led to the Niesse Undercroft. Month after month, year upon year, orc maternity wards operated with assembly line precision. Infants were yanked screaming from nursemaids, forced to scratch and claw to survive. Toddlers, boys and girls equal, all on their own. Children, juveniles, adults. Eat, sleep, train. Fight, kill, or die. Bred and groomed for a unifying purpose, exclusively, and for no other reason than war. Deeper still, Ganc and Gnashmag plunged, descending through eldritch halls, where raw hate was more than just an emotional condition. It took on physical pain. The two were ranking officers in the Rough Guts, an elite squad of niche shock troops. Even so, their skin itched, their nerves on fire. They answered a summons and proceeded uneasily into the Blood Subchamber, home of the Blood Summoners, an orc cabal of shaman blood ritualists. Low demonic chants from the assembled blood summoners echoed dark hymns and psalms of hate to glorify Brood, the blood entity of Dasha. Brood, an orc ancestral entity of profound hate, controlled access to the Circle of Blood, an artery that flowed through Dasha, the orc underworld, where all orcs go when they die to have their blood intermingled with their ancestors. Marzon rose forth from the living pool. Baptism complete. Vitality restored. The Blood Sisters prepared to sanctify their commander and armor him against death.
Are they gathered?
Yes, Marzon. They await you.
Uthrel, bring me Bramalix. The hate of worlds, my lord.
Uthrel, a Taxian psionicist, Surinel's Taxian syndicate interrogator, descended forth from the darkness on oily, sleek, black guy wires he controlled with telekinesis. Marzon communed with Bramalix whilst the Blood Sisters donned his armor.
Armies are a tool, much like this lance. An orc can wield a single weapon, but can a single orc wield all the combined armies of Niche? I need an officer I can trust to carry out my orders if we are to win this war.
Oh, you do me great honor. We shall break the world.
Not you, you idiot. Your place is to die with the Rough Guts. No. I need someone else for the task.
Marzon considered the demon-possessed lance momentarily, and then brought its power to bear upon the pool. Bramalix reached across the mystical river divide. Its primal influence beckoned Brood's attention. Calling. Long had Marzon desired a partner equal to himself. If Brood found his hate sufficient, she would grant him what he most desired. Up here. From the blood emerged the embodiment of orc grandeur.
Come to me, my blood sister.
Yes, Marzon.
Was this the one? Finally, someone worthy of leading his armies.
Oh, dress her. When she's ready, bring her to me.
Soon thereafter, in a Gorgbast antechamber, Ganc and Gnashmag stood resolute with their rough guts assembled, waiting in anticipation. With his rough guts ready, Marzon led. And where Marzon led, death always followed. Ultimately, they came together. Marzon, the supreme commander of Niche, and his blood sisters. The next generation of orc generals. And of course, Gizette, the newest member.
Watch and learn.
Arzon and his entourage strode forth into Gorgbast's audience chamber, where a grand host of 50,000 orcs waited crammed inside. The energy palpable. Heavy percussion beat rhythmically in time with the din of the nearby armory. The sea of expectant orcs stared, hovering. A Cthulian horn roused the crowd. Arzon took the stage.
Of Niesse.
His voice carried, augmented by shaman theatrics, fueled by blood magic. At that exact same moment, another orc army gathered en masse at the fortress citadel of Bruun. From the dark recesses of muddy cracks and stone hovels, orcs scurried forth to bear witness to history. Shaman magic channeled Marzon's fury, delivering his message, his hate.
1,000 years ago, Orc was brought to Chaldea to fight in the Clawhammer War.
Marzon, the hate-monger of the Clawhammer War, had returned. When his booming voice broke over the assembled army, the world reverberated in animus-filled ecstasy. The same scene was playing out all over Niesse, now in Gloggu-Goor.
I was that orc. Me. Each and every one of you is me, my blood. I fucked your mothers, your grandmothers, and your great-grandmothers before them. You are the progeny of Marzon. Because of this link, I feel your hatred. What is the source of this hatred? Injustice!
In the fortress arena of Mollwitz, yet another army listened, hanging on his every word.
In the Clawhammer War, we were gods. Together we defeated the dwarves. Hey, look around you. Do you see a single dwarf?
In Brieg, Marzon's frenetic speech continued to the delight of all.
For many generations, Orc ruled. Kings of this planet, were we not? No one controlled Orc. No one. Until Cordava dared imprison our magnificent race here in this very mountain. An orc paradise turned into a tomb. Why did Cordava treat us worse than dwarven shit and silence us? Because he feared us. Oh, glorious and hateful orc, the time has come to undo this crime. Because now, Cordava is dead. Your ears do not deceive you. Cordava is dead! May he rot in hell as frozen!
The crowd stood silent, shocked. Was the Emperor who oppressed them for the last 40 years finally dead? They just could not believe their orc ears.
Hate is good. Hate is who we are. It's time for us to take back this world and fill it with hate. I call you all to war! And Marzon hates you! And you! And you!
Hates, 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 hates.
Archeron!
An astral plane portal cracked wide, and from it came Archeron. Marzon's legendary Hellsteed, which galloped forth onto the Chaldean Prime to carry his master to war.
To war! To the doom of humans! Now and forever!
What happens to an empire when the God Emperor dies?
War!